Cool. Okay, let's do this. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Had no idea how many people would show up, so it's nice that some of you did. So I guess I'll start just giving out maybe a bit of background on like how we got to like Summer of Protocols and sort of the thought process that that led us here, and then Venkat can kind of walk us through the actual program, how we see it playing out, and then we'll try and keep a fair bit of the call for questions, from anyone here. But I guess high level, I think this was like last summer probably I first reached out to you, Venkat, and mostly in the Ethereum context where we had all these questions around like, how do we even manage this thing? How does this thing like evolve over time? Like, what's the best mental model to think about it? And the sort of more we talked, I think the more I realized how little we understood of this space. And then over 4 or 5 months, we started having these conversations with a few of us at the EF and Venkatesh and thinking through like, you know, let's take a step back. Like, what are we even trying to define here? Like, what is a protocol? How do we approach them? What are like, you know, are there commonalities across them? You know, not just within blockchain, not just within tech, but like at a much broader level. And I think again there, the sort of takeaway was that these questions are much too big for just like Ethereum itself to try to answer within an Ethereum sort of centric view, and we don't have like a good like academic discipline or, you know, map of the territory of how protocols, you know, evolve. How do you think about them? What are like their characteristics? What are like the biggest problems, and how can we potentially approach them? And I think that the thing that started to make sense and become clearer and clearer over time is this is a sort of conversation that would benefit from being had in the open and from having a bunch of different point of views involved as part of it. And that, you know, maybe if you put all people from these different backgrounds, different domains together to work really intensely over a summer, they can come up with, if not like a full theory of protocols or a like canonical understanding, at least, you know, a really good set of like potential paths or, you know, answered questions or at least better questions to ask. I think, yeah, at least from my perspective, this is kind of the mindset that led us to do this. And yeah, basically getting people from these different backgrounds to spend the summer focused on this and try to do as much as possible in the open, try to invite collaboration into it, and hopefully end with a bit more protocol literacy where we kind of understand the domain a bit better. Yeah, so I'll pause here. Venkat, do you want to run through what this means in practice?
Yeah, let me do that. So, hey everybody, for those of you who don't know me, I am Venkatesh Rao and I'm a blogger. I write the blog Ribbon Farm, and yeah, I've been sort of working around technology for over a decade. I'm an engineer myself by training, but much of my writing sort of spans the gap between technology and you know, humanities and social sciences. And I also want to quickly introduce Josh Davis, who'll be running this program with me. So Josh, you want to quickly say hi? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name's Josh. I've been doing program management and event production for a little over a decade. And yeah, generally just very intrigued by protocols and the cross modality of them and how they affect our experience on this planet. So I'm excited to be a part of the conversation. And if you have any questions about how to do something logistically, feel free to reach out to me on the Discord or an email.
Thanks, Josh. So yeah, reach out to Josh for any questions on logistics. He's just set up the Discord and we'll get rolling on that soon. And we'll talk a little bit about the program structure in a couple of minutes. But I want to, yeah, quickly run through both the structure and sort of the thinking behind the program design. So, okay, why this, why now? I feel protocols are in the air right now. And I think I'm pretty good at spotting these trends just about to really take off, but I don't think you have to be particularly like zeitgeist watcher type to see this. Like, I want to point you to a couple of reference lighthouse writings outside of the Ethereum world. So Robin Sloan wrote this article a couple of months back called Specifying Spring 83, where he sort of challenges everybody to, think about protocols. Matt Webb wrote this article called Who Could Write Protocol Fiction? So emphasizing more, arts and literary angle on it. Protocols Not Platform is a couple more years old, but again, sort of like talks about like how we need to rethink the foundations of technology. And of course, recently we've had everything with the Twitter meltdown and everybody rushing to Mastodon and learning for the first time that a protocol called ActivityPub exists, and starting to think about how can you build around protocols rather than platforms. And of course, all of us behind this program and authors of the study are from the crypto ecosystem, and that's been going on for 10 years. And ironically, at the moment, crypto might be in a downturn, but the energy for building seems to be like the highest I've ever seen it. But yeah, this is much broader than crypto. So why this, why now? That's the answer. If you go to the main page of the Summer of Protocols site over here, you'll notice we've listed 4 program goals: to catalyze wide-ranging study, to increase public literacy, to broaden technical discourses beyond silos, and stimulate artistic and literary explorations. So these are like the what I think of as the outer goals. If you've ever read the book Inner Game of Tennis, the outer goal of tennis is to win tennis matches, and that's the outer goal of this program. But I thought it would be interesting to try and identify the inner goals of the game we are trying to play this summer. And we found ourselves, as we were setting up this program, that we were getting nerd sniped by just the whole idea space. So for those of you who don't know what that is, nerd sniping is a term invented by the XKCD comic. It's like you give a nerd a weird bunny trail, interesting problem, and they can't stop thinking about it. So we nerd sniped ourselves thinking about protocols generally, and we want to nerd snipe the world. So that's one inner goal. Second, like I said in the why this, why now angle, it seems like we're on the threshold of a big vibe shift towards protocols, and we kind of want to encourage that to happen and accelerate it. So help make the vibe shift happen. And as Tim said, plant the seeds of like global protocol literacy, like get people thinking in very literate ways about protocols. Okay, so those are the inner goals. Program structure, culture, this will not be much of a surprise to those of you who've been around this conversation for any length of time. We want to work in as open a way as possible. So everything, hopefully, that's produced through this program will be open. The talks will be recorded and posted publicly. Anything the researchers produce will hopefully be published under permissive licenses. And we actually hope that Summer of Protocols will become this sort of permissionless umbrella for lots of people to think about this. So yes, we have some limited capacity to fund a few people to work and think about this, but we hope it'll go beyond that. And all those of you, even if we can't accommodate all of you in the program, we hope you'll sort of join us in the Discord and just generally on your own blogs or newsletters or wherever, and take this opportunity to just do a lot of thinking about Summer of Protocols themes and write about it. Anything you write, just tag it with Summer of Protocols. We'd love to have kind of a leveraged impact. So I'm making that explicit. Ethos, yeah, we don't want you to go away. So those of you who do get into the program, we don't want you to go away and privately do genius stuff for 4 months and then come back with something. We want you to work in a collaborative mode with each other, share, steal, compose, build on each other's work, do the improv thing of yes, and you see somebody else posting a draft of an essay and there's an interesting nugget that, steal that, cite it, build on it. That kind of approach, which is common in hackathons. And by the way, this is something engineers had to learn the hard way in the last 20 years. When I went to undergrad and grad school, your code was your own. And then for 15, 20 years, engineers learned that code was not your own. You have to check into common repos, learn to work with other engineers, merge your work with them. And I think that ethos is spreading beyond engineering now. And I would love to see that happening with a bunch of people writing, humanities essays. All right, expectations of all the sort of various participants in the program. I want to start with informal participants because I think you guys are the most important. So you'll be in the Discord, maybe you'll be on Twitter tweeting. If one of our program researchers tweets something, you'll be reacting. So this largest possible circle we can draw. Our expectations of you guys is we hope you're willing to sort of be nerd sniped by this very interesting topic, and also nerd sniped in turn. Like, even if you're not formally part of the program, but you come up with a really good thought, and we hope you'll share it with us and, like, see where the thought goes. So just like play along this game we're trying to play. Second, the affiliate researchers. So you guys, we can accommodate a bunch of you. The expectation of you is you'll spend maybe about half your time in the second half of the program. So it's an 18-week program. So the focus will be on the core researchers initially, but you guys, you played a very important role of validating and sort of building on the core ideas the core researchers are working on. And the reason we think this is so important is that protocols really are a two-way street. Like, there's no such thing as a protocol somebody proposes and nobody uses. So the true test of a protocol is not just whether others use it, but do so both willingly and creatively. So it's your sort of challenge to look at what's going on in the program and say, hey, can I sort of build on this creatively? So that's the affiliate researcher expectation. Core researchers. So you guys, we're expecting, those who we are able to accommodate and fund, that you'll spend the summer basically thinking about protocols hard, talking to each other, writing, building something that other people can tinker with. And again, the focus is on, working in public, doing all this together, improv mode. And if you're used to, like, I don't know, more academic type environments, this is kind of more towards the open source hackathon culture we are hoping to foster here. We are also looking to accommodate two other kinds of people in the program. So one is guest speakers. So we are lining up a bunch. If you go to the people, let's quickly take a look of over there. So we already have a few lined up. We'll try and get a bunch of people from as many different, aspects of thinking about protocols and working on protocols as possible. And we'll try to front load them in the program. So you have an opportunity early in the program to be exposed to a huge number of rich perspectives, and that'll hopefully feed how you form your own research and thinking. So that's guest speakers. And we will also try and have a few residents. So Tim and Trent from Ethereum, they'll be available on the Discord. Happy to talk to you about any aspect of Ethereum if that's a protocol you want to think about. Scott Moore, who founded Gitcoin, Quadratic Funding. It's a very innovative new way of funding. He'll be able to talk to you about public goods and protocols around that. And we're going to try and get at least a handful more people representing other kinds of interesting and important protocols. So if you're interested in either doing a guest talk or being a resident supporting the researchers, please get in touch. So we're hoping to compose. Oops, what happened here? Okay. We're hoping to. Sorry, what did I do? Okay. Yeah, why is this opening the wrong page? Hold on. What happened to my town hall? Oh, did you?
Oh, maybe because the Zoom was wrong. Yeah, I think it's synced on the calendar page though. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have the agenda notes there as well. Okay, so those are the 4 core groups, and we hope putting, creating this large context of informal researchers in the Discord and the larger Twitter and other social media spaces, that's the largest context, and then having affiliates, core, guest and resident people in this soup. We will create this critical mass where, even though it's a small group with a small amount of funding going out, trying to make this, fetch happen, as they have said in Mean Girls, we hope this is enough critical mass to nerd snipe the world on protocol. So that's kind of the overall mission here. And of course, we have expectations of ourselves, and by us, I mean myself, Josh, Tim, Trent, and the others from the Ethereum ecosystem who are kind of playing host here. So we think of the Ethereum community as the host of this larger conversation. So our expectations of ourselves is to really challenge ourselves to break out of our narrow ways of thinking. We've been having this conversation for 3 months already, and it's hard for us to break out of Ethereum centric references and crypto world. I'm not as much in it as Tim and Danny and the rest of my co-authors, but I've been fairly in it. I've been holding cryptocurrencies for a decade. I bought my first Bitcoin 10 years ago. So I've been hanging around the scene, at least silently, for a long time. And yeah, I think my thinking is also trapped by the assumptions of the crypto space to some extent. So our expectations of ourselves is we will broaden our minds and sort of support the rest of you guys to do this as expansively as possible, right? So resources we already have for you. We put together a pilot study of the last 3 months. It's 8,000 words long, so not a quick read. And you may not agree with everything we say, and it may be mediocre stuff, and we may get a lot of things wrong, but we hope you'll sort of read it to get a sense of the themes we want to provoke you with. And, you don't have to agree with us or even disagree with us, but you have to kind of speak to the themes we are trying to surface if you choose to participate in the program. So get a sense of that through the pilot study. And we definitely don't want to encourage a sort of, not invented here or, just only listen to us kind of thing. So we think this protocol's reading list is super important. So we spent some time just, casting a really wide net, trying to capture everything we could find about protocols. So this is broad rather than deep, and many of you will have expertise in many other relevant areas, so you'll be able to augment this list a lot. But yes, we don't, if you choose to apply, we don't expect you to obviously read all this. I haven't read 80% of this myself. I've just helped collect it. But sample it, pick 4 or 5 readings, try and get a sense of the conversation as it currently exists, and shape your application so it's kind of aware of this existing conversation. And finally, index of protocols. I think one of the best ways to break yourself out of silos and thinking protocol means TCP/IP or protocol means Ethereum is to try and start looking at everything around you with the perspective of, is this a protocol? So we tried to get you started with this huge list of things that you could think of as protocols. Did you know you can use pigeons to carry TCP/IP? That's a protocol, right? Time is a protocol. Handshakes are a protocol. So think very broadly, maybe start simple with something like handshakes to form your intuitions. So draw the circle as widely as you can when you start thinking about your application. And finally, suggestions for applications if you choose to apply. First, build an interesting application around a germ of an idea that actually interests you, right? I think, so I'm sort of going a little bit out of order here, but having an interesting idea is more important than having an important idea. So there's about 20 plus of applications that have already come in, and I can sense that some of you are already thinking in terms of what are big important problems in the world, and therefore I should very seriously work on the important problems. And in my experience as a researcher, researching in various contexts, that's almost never a way to do interesting research. And ironically, indirectly, that's also not a way to do important research. So if you want to work on important problems eventually, start with something that interests you rather than going straight at something that's important, go obliquely at important. So build around an interesting seed. Second, bit of advice I have for you is, it's better if you start with an underformed, very early stage idea that you're just starting to think about, but that still has a lot of life to it and you're excited about, than to dust off an old idea that you worked on for a long time and that maybe feels a little dead. Because again, I've been part of lots of proposal type programs, both as a proposer and a reviewer. And often I see researchers do this thing of, I have this dead horse I've been beating for 20 years, and I'm going to repackage it and re-propose it for every damn program that comes along. Please don't do that. Please work with something that's alive and you can actually, grow. Start with a baby. Don't start with an old dead idea that's very polished and maybe very interesting, but start with a baby here. Speak to the theme directly rather than hastily assuming that you're seeing some vague rhymes and jumping after that. Again, interesting over important. I love this paper. I recommend it to anybody I mentor. Murray Davis. It's a 1970s paper on what makes research interesting. I recommend you read this article by Richard Gabriel called "Worse is Better," which talks about like, what ideas actually catch on and are easy for other people to build on. So that's kind of an interesting thought to go after. And in a way, since we really are hoping you'll build on each other's work a lot, when you write your application, think in terms of like you're pitching to each other rather than to us, because I mean, we are just trying to be catalysts here, and we're not like a judge and jury trying to like tell you what's good work versus bad work. So really, the test of whether you're doing good work is whether other people get excited about it and choose to build on it. So write with that frame of mind. And in some sense, what we're trying to do is thread the needle between like, something that spreads virally like a meme and is very exciting and fun to think about, but is possibly not true, versus something that's maybe boringly true and rigorous, but doesn't go anywhere interesting because like nobody's excited by it, right? So you want what I think of as truth by meme. So you want to work on something that's true and real and can do big, profound things in the world, but you also want other people to be able to build on it, right? So that's kind of the broad ethos we're hoping to do here. Sorry, I was trying to go through this very rapidly to give you a sense of what at least I'm hoping for out of this program, but I'll stop here and yeah, let's open it up to Q&A. And Tim, if you want to like preface the Q&A with something, we can do that. And by the way, all the co-authors who were in on the study with me, please free to jump in and respond to any question that comes up. So yeah, Danny, Trent, Josh, Davish, Josh Chark is also, I think, here. So any of you, if you feel you can speak to a question, jump in. So let's get started.
Yeah, so there's already a couple questions in the chat. You can start from those and then take more from the chat. And then if we answer your question and it's not clear at all, then just speak up and we can get into it more. So I'll just scroll down. But the first one was like, can we suggest guest speakers? If so, through what channel? Sure. I mean, we'll take all the suggestions we can get. The Discord is probably the best place to do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Second one was, yeah, okay, so people not accepted the program, will they be able to attend the talks by guest speakers? Frankly, we hadn't thought about that too much. I think, probably in some degree it makes sense to either at least like record the talks or have them be available publicly after, but yeah, I guess reserve our right to change our mind on that. But I think it makes sense to try and put as much as possible open and public. The third one was the time commitment for affiliates. So affiliates are sort of joining midway through the program, and basically your main part-time thing is probably the right way to think about it, in that like, you should expect to put a non-trivial amount of time, but if you have a full-time job and can't quit it, that's reasonable. But probably it's really hard to go with number of hours for these types of things. But like, if you can't commit 10 to 20 hours, it's probably not enough to like engage with what's actually happening. But yeah, the idea is like, if you do have a main thing, it should be possible to also be an affiliate. Applying as teams is fine. There's something on the Notion explaining how. Link to the PDF, we have it there. Can PhD students with the permission of supervisors apply as core researchers? We don't have a problem with that. So I guess, assuming that like that's not an issue on your end or for your PhD, then that should be totally fine. What's the rough vision of the program over the course of years? Frankly, I think we're still figuring out over the course of months. It's not clear, we may or may not do this again. But yeah, this is very much an experiment. So I don't think it has a multi-year lifespan quite yet.
Yeah, one of the best outcomes we think would be, if this program catalyzes further investigation, further insight, and further kind of like natural discourse around protocols, such that the program isn't even necessarily needed in another time. Obviously, we shall see, but that's probably one of our best outcomes here.
Yeah, and you can imagine also things fracturing at some point, right? Like where like parts of like what's being worked on diverge in some other effort. So yeah, hard to tell right now. How many core researchers are we accepting into the program? What's the thought process around there? So I think we want the core researchers to feel like a small, tight-knit group. So around 10 is, give or take the number we're going for, and probably twice or so the number of affiliates. And the thought process is just like, that's roughly the right number for like, like a cohesive team that, you sort of know other people quite well. We do accept self-funding, like, so we obviously offer funding for this. We accept self-funding, but like, it's not, if you need the funding, like, please just don't apply saying you don't need it. Like it won't make you more likely to get in whether or not you get funded. We could fund everyone, but if you don't need the funding, that's fine as well. But like, roughly 10-ish core researchers, 20-ish affiliates. But I think we're much more focused on like the quality of the application itself, and like, than hitting a specific number. If there's, only 8 amazing ones, or if there's like 11, those are not like hard bounds. What sort of funding is offered to core researchers, and what is a core researcher is unavailable during part of the duration of the program? So I believe that the stipend for core researchers is at $2,500 a week. So throughout the program, I think it depends what unavailable during part of the program means. If it's like a week, it's probably not the end of the world. If it's a month, it probably makes more sense to maybe apply as like an affiliate or something like that. Like, we do expect that, people who are there as core researchers make it their main thing over this, 4-ish months period. Motivation about having the affiliate researchers join halfway through. So I think the idea is that there'll be something to build on, right? Like, so having the core researchers spend, basically 2 months trying to put something in shape and like, make some initial progress, just makes it like a better sort of foundation to then have a bunch of other people join and, expand, critique, iterate on what's been done already. So that's really the idea, is just have like a core group of people, lay the foundation, and start exploring this, so that then when we invite a whole bunch of new like set of eyes in, there's something there to look at, right?
Let me jump in there, Tim. Just to add to that. So one piece of this should be kind of obvious to me. Most of you are used to any kind of like social science research, which is write an essay. You guys are all good at that, presumably, and you've written many essays. The second piece of output we're expecting from core researchers, which we're calling some sort of protocolish artifact, that's going to be challenging and new for many of you. So the idea is to produce something that other people can build on. So if you're an engineer, there are some obvious ideas, like, maybe have maybe design a speculative protocol and produce a reference implementation, and then others can try and like use that implementation and like, build out the protocol. So that's one very obvious way to go. Another would be, for example, if you're a game designer and you want to write an essay about, I don't know, something to do with fiction and protocols, then one of the protocolish artifacts you could build is maybe a game or a kit that other people can play with and compose with, right? So the second artifact, hopefully the combination of the essay and an artifact people can build on, hopefully you'll make enough progress through the first half of the program. So this is for the core researchers, that affiliate researchers, when you join, you'll actually have like lots of toys to play with. And what we expect you to do is pick 1 or 2 of those toys and actually play with them. And like, on the one hand, you're giving the core researchers like feedback and validation of whether their ideas are actually interesting. And second, you're challenging yourself to be creative within like, an idea space that somebody else has come up with. So that's kind of why affiliates are joining halfway.
I think this sort of answered Manav's question as well. If not, let us know. Multidisciplinary approach. So I think the idea is that, the program as a whole will be very multidisciplinary, but like, if you're an expert in one thing, you don't need to become an expert in something else by the time your application is ready, right? I think being open to like other disciplines and like that you're going to be working with folks with different backgrounds is really important. But obviously, you know, you probably have one or, you know, a set of things that like you have experience in, and that's totally fine. Like you don't need to explicitly broaden that set.
Yeah, we want the program to be multidisciplinary. The individuals can be, you know, on that spectrum of not to full.
Next question is interesting. So you implicitly touched on it, Venkatesh, but you know, if you join as an affiliate, you're not working on your own idea, but building on a core researcher project. What do we think of like, you know, can affiliates build on their own idea from scratch, or yeah,
let me speak to that. So this is probably the most, if you're calling this as an experimental program, and this is probably the most experimental piece of it, because though I've been part of many such things, I've never seen something like this. But the reason we came up with this was we feel it's essential to protocols, that's kind of the essence of them. That, you know, if you choose to build a website, you're literally building on TCP, IP, and like a bunch of other protocols that already exist. So in that sense, that's a tester for protocol. But two things. One is, like we said, we're keeping it very open and permissionless, and we hope a lot of people will do stuff on some of protocols without even being formally part of it. So of course, if you want to devote more time and like do something of your own, like, you know, write essays or like build your own little thing, that's great, and that would be great sort of plus benefits to have from your participation. But the core challenge we want to present to you is, in fact, to try and build on what other people have done, because we feel that's a important test of like what the core researchers are doing. And also it's a challenge to, all right, protocol literacy, that's what it means. Can you actually look at existing protocols and ideas for protocols, get literate in their, you know, grammar and structure, and do something with them? So it's like, you know, sometimes you just challenge yourself to learn a foreign language, right? And other times you want to go invent a new language. So we want you to challenge yourself to learn somebody else's language a little bit. So
Right, and being in dialogue with the research that has been put in place before the affiliates join could mean quite a diverse thing. One, we don't know what that research is going to look like, and two, you know, that could be extend, play with, challenge, complement, destroy. You know, like there's so many things that you can do, you know, once there is a foundation of somebody else's work, rather than, you know, just the limited build or add or whatever. You know, there's a lot there. So like you can be very creative in that domain.
okay.
absolutely.
Adam, oh, sorry.
That people.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think he froze.
Yeah, I think we lost it.
No, I finished the talk. Yeah, core researchers to keep it building on.
Oh,
Well,
sorry, your internet broke up. Do you mind just repeating the last couple sentences?
We can hear you now and you're unfrozen. So repeat what you said, if you don't mind, Venkat. You're now muted.
Yeah. Oh, you're still on mute.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, that was unstable for a minute, then I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, so I just wanted to reinforce with any core researcher applicants is, don't think of this as you'll produce output and it'll be published and then nobody will ever, you know, read it again, like typically happens with academic publishing or even most blog posts. We are setting up an audience to really stress test your thinking. So that's the key part here. So expect, like Danny said, to be challenged and built on and maybe even destroyed. If you come up with a bad idea, we are setting up people to come after you. So a little bit adversarial, but we think that's good. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt him.
No, all good. Okay, I think Adam, is this the same question? You have your hand up on? And yeah, okay, cool. So there's a field that says the idea. Okay, so if you have many ideas, what would you recommend doing? I think, yeah, the Discord might be a good place to chat about it. It's not the end of the world if you submit 2 applications, but we can probably give you like some informal feedback, either on the Discord or, yeah. yeah, I think that's probably the right way to go about it. Maybe chatting about it there, and then you know, if you still feel extremely strongly about both ideas at the end, like you can obviously submit 2 applications, but there might be something that through conversation kind of becomes more apparent as being a good idea. Next question. So can you structure the team a priori, like 1 core researcher, 1 or 2 affiliates? I think the thing that like you cannot do is like block other affiliates. So, you know, if you apply as a core researcher and you know someone who you think would be a good affiliate to like work on whatever you're doing, that's great. But you know, if some other person you don't know joins as an affiliate and also wants to work on that thing, you know, we want to keep that open for them. So that's probably the only caveat there. I don't think that it's fine if like the team is, if you know people and want to work on a specific domain, but you should be mindful of like, there will be other people in this program and collaborating with them as much as possible.
Quick one, if you see the form, it says explicitly that if you're doing a team application, like you really do have to be together to work, then you will be accepted or rejected together if you're that dependent on each other. So one suggestion I have, if you're developing a team application, is develop it in a composable way where maybe if like, you know, one of you is accepted and another is not, the piece you can work on is still sort of like worth doing. So don't make it so dependent that it's not worth doing if only one person is accepted. Yeah.
I think the next one might be good for you as well. Venkat, what's a good format for an application? I know you've looked at the few we've already received.
So the form just basically asks for 2 substantive things. One is a link to an existing reading, existing piece of writing that you've done. So pick that carefully because we will be using that as sort of your main reference point for the kind of work you do. So whatever prior writing you pick, so that's the important piece. The other is, yeah, pick a working title and a short abstract for your proposed research project. And we understand that that's something that you'll sort of refine and develop over the first few weeks of the program. And personally, I have a strong bias towards starting with an interesting seed and then sort of creating room to evolve and you know, even radically change it perhaps, but the seed has to be interesting. So don't feel you have to like produce like a super polished kind of proposal of the sort you might be used to in academia, because when I've been part of that, it's like, you know, DARPA or NSF requires like a 20-page proposal in a very precise format with 200 references. No, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for your early stage idea. So capture enough of the idea clearly that we can sense where it might go in multiple different directions. But yeah, you don't have to like refine it the way academic proposals work. So link to a good piece of writing, short, punchy abstract that we expect you will refine over the first part.
Do you want to take the next one as well, Venkatesh? Danny posted it from the Discord.
Okay. A big chunk of the protocol's reading list is biased towards Western readings thinking and is likely to attract a certain kind of philosopher practitioner. Yeah. How are we thinking about this more accessible to non-heavy English speakers? So there's 2 parts to the question. There is the emphasis on English, and then there is the emphasis on sort of Western literature and idea spaces on this. I think one we can probably address much more easily than the others, namely expand the idea space. So yes, one of the things we're hoping to do is attract applicants from around the world and who sort of like expand the thought space. You know, I'm particularly interested, for example, in a lot of thinking in Japan that's happened in the last 20 years on protocols in Japan. So that thing, if you have like special insight, yeah, help us. And even whether if you don't join the program formally, if you are well versed in non-Western sort of fields of protocol thinking, please post links in the Discord. We'll add them to our list of readings. So we will be fleshing that part out. The English part, that's a constraint. I think we will need anybody at least participating in the core program to at least be reasonably well versed in English enough to participate in the program. I think the program's sort of language will be English. but it doesn't have to be your first language. If you're applying from, say, Brazil, and you're doing much of your thinking and even maybe writing in Portuguese and working with Portuguese language references and stuff, great. So long as you're able to speak in English with the rest of the participants and whatever you produce can be translated to English, hopefully, that'll be enough. But yeah, just because of the constraints of expecting people to talk and interact a lot, I think we do need like a default language, and that language is English. But yeah, definitely, think in other languages and bring other languages into the scope if possible. Anybody want to
Yeah, I
add
mean,
anything?
and if there are individuals that can be bridges into other languages, catalyze the summer protocols or catalyze protocol studies, in other languages, that would be a great outcome here.
All right. Are there any other questions, Tim?
Do affiliates need to have a strong record of published writings, or is a strong background plus experience sufficient?
So this is another bias. I've been in many programs like this. I myself am traditional academically trained PhD postdoc. I have academic publishing, but I really love my blogging a lot more. I think I've done a lot more good in the world through blogging and informal writing. I think like 5 people ever have cited my academic articles, but lots of my blogs have gone viral and I think have been influential. So yeah, we don't need you to have like a strong traditional publication record. If you've written one interesting blog post, that might be all that's needed. But you do have to have written something. I mean, you have to link something as a sample of your writing, because this a big piece of the output we're expecting is writing. So we need a little bit of evidence that you can write, whether as a blogger or a newsletter writer or an academic writing papers, or a journalist writing feature articles, some evidence that you're kind of comfortable with writing your ideas. So yeah, so you don't need to have a strong publication record, but it won't be held against you if you do have a strong publication record.
Daniel has a question. I'm not sure I understand correctly, but please let me know if I misunderstood this. Will applications be open to community feedback prior to the selection of core researchers? So basically, if by open you mean will it be like a public review process for applications, then the answer is no. If you want to get feedback on your specific application before in the Discord or stuff like that, then sure, there's no secrecy or anything like that. It's totally fine. Or even if you want to ask, us, reach out and ask feedback, that's totally fine. But yeah, we will be making the decision about, the core researchers and affiliates that are accepted.
So one thing maybe we can do to support that, Josh Davis, maybe we can set up a channel in the Discord for mutual review or something. If somebody wants to just share the reviews with each other and do some, open peer review before you apply. So maybe we can do something like that.
Yeah, and I think there was a good so Adam had a good example of a writing sample, a DAO proposal or something like that. I mean, if DAOs are the the lens through which you see protocols and the domain you work in, then yeah, that's great. It doesn't have to be something published somewhere formal. Yeah, and obviously, if you've never contributed to a DAO, please don't send us some random DAO proposal that you just wrote, but trying to find a thing that fits with your background, even if it's something idiosyncratic like that, is great. Yeah. So when should people have their applications sent in by?
So the deadline is March 21st. If you look at the application form, it says if you submit, you will be able to edit the application till then. So feel free to just submit early, go back to the Google form and edit your responses. So yeah, we don't want to lock you down that way. So we might start reviewing some completed and finished applications a little earlier, but 21st is when we will start sort of formally reviewing all the applications together, and hopefully we'll make decisions pretty quickly. We have an aggressive timeline of getting it done within 10 days after the deadline. But 21st, But yeah, when you're ready, please do submit. Don't wait till the last minute. So it helps us make this better decisions if applications are coming in and we can sense which way they're trending and so forth. 21st. So 11 days. You have 11 days to go. All right, I think we did all the questions in the chat, right? Anybody else have any live questions?
Okay, if not, sorry, let me just read this.
Yeah, so I can read that.
Yeah.
Is an opinion feedback from the writings is that it's long and dense, requires a certain level of English comprehension to understand. So yeah, the pilot study is 8,000 words in fairly like grad school level language. We are not shy of using big words and so forth. We do hear that, and one of the things we're hoping to do pretty soon is translate that into a slide deck that'll perhaps be more accessible and create, like, I mean, it is a draft pilot study, and early research stage thinking tends to be like harder to comprehend. So hopefully we'll simplify it over the summer ourselves. But just as a fun anecdote, one of the things we tried to do was try and get ChatGPT to summarize and simplify the document for us. That was not successful. So any simplified version we put out, we'll have to do it. All right, looks like we have a couple more questions coming in. But yeah, just to finish that thought, yeah, we'll try and produce more simplified, accessible versions over the next few months. And hopefully we'll be able to do that with a lot of the program output. And yeah, if people are really interested in like, having this content available in other languages, we'd love to like support translation efforts and so forth. The Zoom recording of this call will be online. Yes, we will be doing that. Let's see, do I need a strong writing background if I want to apply as an affiliate researcher? No, so the writing output expectation is for core researchers. You'll be expected to produce an essay, but if you're applying as an affiliate, you can contribute in any of a variety of ways. Like, you could write code, you could do design assets, you could like red team or do pen testing on sample protocols. You can do lots of things. But if you're a core researcher, yes, I mean, you don't necessarily need a strong writing background in English, as in we don't expect you to write stuff that's accepted by the New York Times or like Nature magazine or something. But you need to be able to write well enough to convey your thinking. And if you're thinking about, say, DAOs or TCP/IP or climate change protocols, the important thing is that your thinking be strong and that your writing be good enough to convey that you're thinking. So yeah, and we will have people helping with editing, developmental support on your writing. Hopefully some of the affiliates who do join will actually have writing strengths and be able to join you helping in that. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, so Tim, do you want to do another town hall? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let me just clarify. Sorry, I got the number wrong for affiliate. It's 1250, not 1500. Sorry about that. But yes, there is funding. So yeah, I guess this is a question for people here. Like, is it valuable for us to do another town hall like the day before applications close? I'm happy to do it if people think it's worth their time. But the purpose of, I mean, I guess answer questions like same as today, right? Like, so. We don't have to decide this now. We can chat about it in the Discord, but I think it's worth keeping that open. I'm happy to do it if people find it's useful. But yeah, don't want to just set it up for nothing. It's okay. A couple more questions. Are you open to projects where the main work is an audio series rather than writing? Yes, 100%. Is having studied English or bachelor and writing papers in it a good evidence for writing skills? I guess yes, but what I would emphasize is like I guess kind of what Venkatesh was saying, like we don't, that's not like the thing you will be judged on. So obviously, you could imagine if like languages are something you want to approach like a protocol, then like having a formal like understanding of them is very valuable, but you don't need to have, a bachelor in English in terms of like your English level to participate in the program, if that makes sense. Dance or song can be some artifact of a protocol. Can we evaluate that? Does it have to be in writing? It's fine. I think there should be probably some amount of writing that like describes what it is or why it is. Yeah, it's the output does not have to be.
So let me speak to that briefly because
Yeah.
there's an interesting example. So for example, if you're working on dance and say dance as a protocol and you write a little essay on dance, and then your artifact is maybe you actually choreograph like a set of dance moves. So two things we are not going to do. We are not dancers ourselves. I can't speak for the rest of the co-authors, but I'm not a dancer. I'm not going to judge the quality of your dance choreography, and neither are we going to bring on expert dancers to judge your work. The test of your dancing protocol and whether it's interesting is whether you can get some of the affiliates dancing and whether you can maybe create a TikTok dance meme and have it go viral. So we kind of want to encourage all your thinking to go towards real world testing in that sense. Does that make sense? So if you're thinking you want to work on dance protocols, well, get people dancing. That's your test.
Nice. Anything else before we wrap up? Okay, well, yeah, thanks everyone. We'll chat in the Discord to see if we organize another one of these, but regardless, applications are due March 21st. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Discord, reach out. And I guess one thing as well, like if there are people you think would be a good fit for this, please try and forward them the program details. I think it's really important to us that we get a bunch of people outside of like this sort of default circles that we spend our times in. And all of you who showed up today are probably the best type of people to find other people who might be interested in this. Yeah, so thank you for showing up, and talk to you all on the Discord.
Thanks, everybody.